Okay, so this one is about what you put on your face. And I grew up like everybody else, you know, if you're like fair skinned and you got allergies, skin allergies, and you're sensitive, your skin can go bad quick. And the sun is one of those things that could make my skin go bad quick. So I was putting on the sunscreen. I did that for a very long time. Sometimes failed to put it on. At one point was teaching myself how to like play the shade game and like spend it like 50% of the time outdoors in the shade to avoid sunscreen at all. Kind of working on this like tanning thing. But when I started working at the ski resorts, then I was like really on those sunny days, really exposed to reflective sun that was just blasting my face. And if I didn't apply or wear a mask, I could get really bad sunburn. So always applying at a sunny resort, like ski resort, right? But then I had this other issue with sensitive skin. My sensitive skin on my face would react to my goggles, and all winter I had these like goggle rash marks under my eyes. It was hideous. It looked like I had some kind of fungal thing going on. Like he'd just look at my face and he'd be like, ooh, like his skin is reacting to something, and I really didn't like it. So I was on this like search for the perfect goggles that wouldn't make my skin react. Never found them. And then finally I ended up smearing like diaper rash paste all over my face, right? Like the stuff you put on your baby's butt, right? If their precious skin is reacting to the diaper, right? So I noticed that when I wore diaper rash paste on my face, my skin wasn't having a reaction to the abrasion of my ski goggles rubbing on my face all day. And the application of the baby butt paste eliminated that rash for me, which was a really big deal. And so then that like became my new religious practice in a sense. Like, to save myself from the rash, I'm applying the baby paste on my face, wearing the goggles proudly, right? Issue solved. Then the sun comes out and it's like, oh, what do? Do you double layer, paste, then sunscreen? And I'm looking at the white reflective paste and I'm like, I know what white reflective surfaces do to the sun. I'm just gonna try putting the diaper rash on my face as an application of sunscreen as well and see what happens. And I have never once gotten a sunburn from the sun getting through the diaper rash paste. Diaper rash paste from the baby aisle is a bomb sunscreen application. This was good for me, but then it got better and I started noticing other useful applications that the baby butt paste on my face was doing for me. In the mountains, the weather changes on a dime, right? So sometimes I'd find myself going from like what I thought was a sunny day to like a really windy day, and notice that the baby rash paste, better than a sunscreen for sure, was protecting my skin from wind burn. You know, riding those lifts with the wind just ripping at your face. It would protect from the wind burn, you know. Like if I crashed and my goggles were full of snow and then I was just like riding without goggles or something, or like my face mask was too wet, you know, there were times when I would lose my normal protective gear that we would normally use and was left with the paste and was like, I feel like this is doing something, like, you know, or maybe it's like a sunny hot day but there's like a lot of wind. I like noticed my skin was being protected from the wind. Now, I think it even helps a little bit with the cold too, right? So if I was out here, you know, temperatures below freezing, and you know what I'll look like by the time I get to the top of this mountain, if I don't put a face mask on, like my nose will be red with cold, right? If it was white, purely, that'd be frostbite, right? So obviously I'm not gonna get to that point. So it is likely, you know, see a lot of people out here, like they just like, they're being tough and their noses get red and like stop working. You know, they're like too cold, they're running, they're not really good for smell anymore. They're just kind of hanging on like a frozen strawberry. And the baby paste, I think, even helps the skin, protects the skin from interacting with that really cold air. It doesn't save it entirely, but it gives it more life and allows your experience out here to be a little more enjoyable because your skin isn't like, like just like getting, you know, getting touched by really freezing cold air. The cold air touches the baby paste and your nose is protected underneath that layer. So it's almost like putting yoga pants, or the kind of yoga pants you just paint on, and putting that on your nose. So, you know, the next time you're in that aisle, you know, and you see that baby butt paste and you're thinking, hey, you know what? It's not gonna be long till I'm in the mountains. You know, you might as well pick up a tube. About one tube my entire life and I'm still on it. It just takes a little bit. That stuff is impeccable and very useful in various ways. The only thing you have to accept in order to use it is you might look like a mime, you know? And if you're okay with that, then you can consider the really pasty white path to skin protection on the mountains.